All right, good afternoon, class. He's giving you the meeting ID. Please join in the lecture quickly.
853. Eight five three. 9355. Eight double five three.
Okay. Do you think there will be World War?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Not sure, but
Not sure.
70%.
Not sure.
But then they have called on for India also now.
But ma'am, not, the Indian has also been pulled back from the Ukraine. But it's okay.
So what do you think? How supportive you are? Let's read and check.
Russia says some troops pulling back from areas near Ukraine,
I did call.
but military exercises to continue. Putin says ready to work further with the West. Russia said on Tuesday some of its military units
Sit straight and wait.
were returning to their bases after exercise near Ukraine following days of US and British warnings that Moscow might invade its neighbor at any time. It was not clear how many units were being withdrawn and by what distance after a buildup of an estimated 130,000 Russian troops to the north, east, and south of Ukraine. We have always said the troops will return to their bases after the exercises are over. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said. The development drew a cautious response from Ukraine. Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba said Kyiv would only believe that Russia was moving to de-escalate the situation if it saw for itself that Russian troops were being pulled back. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, on the latest Western diplomatic mission to defuse the crisis, held talks with President Vladimir Putin to Moscow. After the talks, Mr. Putin said Russia was ready to continue working with the West on the security issues. We are ready to work further together. We are ready to go down to the negotiations track, he told reporters. Mr. Putin added that, of course, Russia does not want war, but it cannot turn a blind eye to how Washington and NATO freely interrupt the principle of the indivisibility of security, that no country should strengthen its security at the expense of others. India advises its citizens to leave Ukraine temporarily. India on Tuesday advised its citizens in Ukraine, particularly students, to temporarily leave the country in view of the escalating military tensions with Russia. In view of the uncertainties of the current situation in Ukraine, Indian nationals in Ukraine, particularly students who stay in not essential, may consider leaving temporarily. The Indian embassy in Kyiv said is an advisory. It urged Indian nationals to avoid and non-essential travel to go to and within Ukraine. Indian nationals should keep the mission informed about the location so that they could be contacted in case required, the embassy said. Anti-lynching bills passed by 4 states hanging fire. Lynching, not defined as a crime under IPC, Center has said. Bills passed against lynching in the past 4 years by at least 3 states ruled by BJP rivals and one by the party itself have not been implemented, with the union government taking the view that lynching is not defined as crime under the Indian Penal Code. The Union Home Ministry informed Parliament in 2019 that there was no separate definition for lynching under the IPC, adding that such incidents could be dealt with under sections 300 and 302 of IPC with pertain to murder. Stalled crackdown. A brief look at anti-lynching bills passed by 4 states that are caught in a question of definition. Jharkhand. The Prevention of Mob Violence and Mob Lynching Bill 2021 provides for punishment ranging from 3 years in prison to life of death of the victim. Those convicted may be fined between rupees 3 lakhs and rupees 25 lakh, depending on the severity of the crime. Rajasthan. The Rajasthan Protection from Lynching Bill 2019 provides for life imprisonment and a fine from 1 lakh to 5 lakh to those convicted in cases of mob lynching leading to victims' death. Manipur. The Manipur Protection from Mob Violence Bill 2018 proposes rigorous life imprisonment for those involved in mob violence if it results in the death of victims. West Bengal. The West Bengal Prevention of Lynching Bill 2019 has a provision for death sentence. It proposes a jail term for 3 years to life imprisonment for those involved in assaulting and injuring a person. The bill, while defining terms such as lynching and mob, says the West Bengal lynching compensation scheme may be framed under it.
फोन करके बोलो read the tweets.
Ma'am, this one.
Listen nicely with your tongue.
In brief.
He's okay with it.
SADBSP promises 75% reservation for Punjabis. The Shiromani Akali Dal and Bahujan Samaj Party Alliance in Punjab on Tuesday released its manifesto for the assembly election, promising 75% reservation to Punjabis in government and private jobs, besides a number of freebies if elected to power. SC to hear plea on who controls services in Delhi. Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, on Tuesday scheduled for March 3 a legal tussle between the centre and Delhi government on which of them actually exerts administrative control over bureaucracy and services in national capital. India slams communal mindset of OIC over remarks on hijab rule. Islamic organization asked UN to take necessary measures. India on Tuesday hit out at the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), saying it was hijacked by vested and terrorists. Issues in India are considered and resolved in accordance with our constitutional framework and mechanisms, as well as democratic ethos and polity. The communal mindset of the OIC Secretariat does not allow for a proper appreciation of these realities. Arindam Bakshi, official spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs, said after the OIC commented on the hijab controversy in Karnataka. OIC continues to hijack by vested interests to further their nefarious propaganda against India. He added. The OIC on Monday called upon the UN and the Human Rights Council to take necessary measures following reports of Muslim students being prevented from wearing hijab in Karnataka. The OIC General Secretariat further urges India to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of the Muslim community while protecting the way of life of its members and to bring instigators and perpetrators of acts of violence and hate crimes against them to justice, it said in a statement. Pakistan, a leading member of the OIC, has criticized the developments in Karnataka. Lalu convicted in Doranda treasury case. The special CBI court on Tuesday convicted RJD Supremo and former Bihar Chief Minister Lalu Prasad in the rupees 139.5 crore Doranda treasury embezzlement case, the fifth and the final case against him in the Florida scam. The aligning 73-year-old politician will be locked in Birsa Munda Central Jail in Ranchi after his plea to be admitted to the state-run Rajendra Institute of Medical Sciences of medical grounds were rejected by the court. The RJD leader suffers from multiple ailments, including renal problems. SC2-year legal tussle over services on March 3rd. Center and Delhi government spar over administrative control. Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana on Tuesday scheduled for March 3 a prolonged legal tussle between the center and Delhi government on which of them actually flexes administrative control over bureaucracy and services in the capital. In an urgent oral mentioning, senior advocate A.M. Singhvi for Delhi requested the Chief Justice of India to post the reference for hearing soon, possibly in the beginning of March. The senior lawyer said the case concerned an important question of law dealing with governance and administration of the capital. The reference to a larger bench dates back to February 14, 2019, when a division bench of Justices A.K. Sikri and Ashok Bhushan, both retired, gave a split opinion on the questions of services. While Justice Bhushan had held that the Delhi government had no power over services, Justice Sikri, who was the lead judge on the bench, took the middle path. Justice Bhushan, in his separate opinion, said entry 41 of the state list in the 7th schedule of the Constitution dealing with state public services was outside the purview of the Delhi Legislative Assembly. Justice Sikri, on the other hand, had concluded that files on the transfers and postings of officers in the rank of secretary, head of department, and joint secretary could be directly submitted to the Lieutenant Governor. As far as Dance's Delhi Andaman's Nicobar Islands Civil Services cadre was concerned, the files could be.
Yeah. He just came from lunch. SC2 here.
SC2 legal tussle over services on March 3. Center and Delhi government spar over administrative control. Chief Justice.
That's all fate, you know.
Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana on Tuesday scheduled for March 3 a prolonged legal tussle between the center and the Delhi government on which of them actually flexes administrative control over bureaucracy and services in the capital. In an urgent oral mentioning, senior advocate A.M. Singhvi
regarding legal tussles over services on March 3, what did you understand? What is it? central and control.
Yes.
With kiss way. अच्छा, yesterday फिर continue. He is arrested.
Nice.
Yes, sorry.
Octogenarian rape, 30-year-old. He entered house with intent to cheat.
जानती को बोलो.
2 days after an 87-year-old woman was raped and assaulted at her residence, Delhi's Tilak Nagar, the Delhi police have arrested a 30-year-old man in connection with the Deputy Commissioner of Police as Ankit, a resident of Harijan Colony. He works as with her 65-year-old daughter was alone when the incident happened. According to the family, SIT formed. According to the police, a special investigation team was formed and 20 teams with over 100 officers assisted the core team to checking CCTV footage, verifying delivery boys, sweepers, and others. The accused was seen close to the house wearing a purple sweatshirt. The police said he was arrested on Tuesday, and a mobile phone stolen from the victim's residence was recovered from his possession. The police said. The accused told the police that while roaming in the area, he went upstairs. He went upstairs to the victim's residence with an intent to commit theft and found the door unlocked. A senior police officer said when the accused went in, he found the victim alone in the room. On being asked the reason alone, the accused bolted the door from inside and told the elderly woman that it had closed by mistake and was not opening. At which she gave him her phone to call her daughter and said she could help in opening the door. But instead of dialing, the accused sexually assaulted, the officer said.
That food violence case dies in this accident.
Deep Sindhu accused in for over 2 months before being granted bail. Actor and activist Deep Sindhu accused for being the key conspirator in the resident on Kundali Manesar Palwal Highway near Kharkhoda in Haryana's Sonipat, police said on Tuesday. The 37-year-old Punjabi actor was said to traveling from Delhi to Punjab when the incident occurred. TV visuals showed the white SUV badly damaged on the driver's side after it rammed into the stationary Kharkhoda police station Inspector Jaspal Singh said Sindhu's SUV had rammed a truck. The officer confirmed Sindhu's death, adding a woman accompanying him was admitted to a hospital where her condition was said out of danger. Was jailed in 2021. Sidhu was arrested on February 9, 2021 in connection with the Red Fort violence on Republic Day during the Farmers' Tractor Parade against the centre's three farm laws. He was in jail for over 2 months before being released on bail. Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Chani and several political leaders of whole-bound Punjab expressed grief over the incident. India has positive secularism, petitioners tell Karnataka HC. Here, the state plays an secularism, unlike Turkey, which has negative secularism, where the state says that nobody can display their religious identity to public and the ban on hijab there. It was argued before the High Court of Karnataka on Tuesday. The Constitution of Turkey is completely enabler rule for the exercise of fundamental rights and the religious freedoms of all communities. We recognize all religions as true, argued senior advocate Devdatta Kamath, appearing for two students who have questioned the restriction on wearing hijab in classrooms. Citing a judgment of the Supreme Court before a three-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice Rituraj Avasthi, it was contended by Mr. Kamath that the Indian interpretation of the secularism stems from the Vedic precept of Sarva Dharma Samabhava, and the SC has observed that Indian secularism is susceptible to a positive meaning that is developing an understanding and respecting towards different religions. Meanwhile, se- Meanwhile, senior advocate Ravi Varma Kumar, appearing for some of the petitioners, contended that at present the state government has not prescribed any uniform for students as the matter has been referred to high-level committee. While contending that there is no order on banning hijabs at present, Mr. Kumar argued that college development committees are non-existing bodies and are extra-legal authorities which were allowed to prescribe uniforms contrary to scheme of Karnataka Education Act 1983. College students attend classes in saffron stools. Hijab rule now finds resonance in UP. The Karnataka hijab rule has begun to find resonance in Uttar Pradesh, which is in the midst of tightly contested assembly election. On Monday, some students of Aligarh's Dharma Samaj College attended the classes wearing saffron stoles and shawls. Aligarh voted in the first round on February 10. Memo to Proctor. The students gave a memorandum to the college proctor saying if Muslim girls would attend classes in hijab, they would cover themselves with saffron stoles. Amit Goswami, senior student leader and vice president of the city unit of the Bharatiya Janata Party Yuva Morcha, said it was in response to those institutions who support students sporting hijabs in classrooms. We demand that the dress code be followed in all educational institutions, he said. Local Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad leader said as one community was trying to vitiate the atmosphere, it was a symbolic protest to make them understand that if they insist on carrying their religious symbols to classrooms, others could do as well. The case is pending in the Karnataka High Court as we look forward to its directives, he said. The move had come after the students of the Aligarh Muslim University had organized a protest in support of the women students who were not allowed to attend classes in hijab in a college in Udupi in Karnataka. During the protest, religious slogans were raised. Hijab is not a symbol of oppression. It is a mark of freedom, said Mansha Zahan, a student. You cover similarly, we cover ourselves with hijab for safety, she said. Never an issue. DS college officials said the video was shot when the teacher was not present in the class. Students have submitted a memorandum, but hijab was never an issue in the college, said Proctor Dr. Mukesh Bharadwaj. Principal Dr. R.K. Verma told reporters that disciplinary action would be taken against those who broke the dress code. The college is affiliated to the Ambedkar University, Agra.
It is Hinduism.
प्रोवाइड किया गया है प्रोवाइड किया गया है प्रोवाइड किया गया है
Yes, yes, obvious it is.
This stuff is to hide. Answer. This stuff is to hide all the other controversies like the budget 2022. It has been hide to that that budget. No middle class is getting anything. That the Galwan Valley thing, McMahon line thing. This is only to hide that.
Yes. It seems like they are making this as a highlight, and others they all have duplicated it.
It's important. It's important.
Yeah, let's see this letters to the editor. What people write, what are they facing?
Letters to the editor. NSC and Criminal Act. In a country where the so-called yogis and sannyasis seem to have a place in the political hierarchy, often to polarize voters, it is a real shame that the former lady head of the National Stock Exchange was guided by one such yogi from the Himalayas in the day-to-day operations of one of the most important bodies that controls the fate of almost all investors in the stock market. What is more shocking is that she shared confidential matters with the said yogi. One really wonders who the beneficiaries of this scam are and who on whose behalf the yogi was acting and directing the lady chief. The fine imposed on her by the Securities and Exchange Board of India (SEBI) appears to be an empty to whitewash the sordid crime. While the government of the day that talks about transparency and corruption-free governance explain how this has happened and what action it envisages taking against all the fraudsters placed in orbit. The India's first space launch of 2022 went off without a hitch in testimony to ISRO's expertise and skill. India is truly a force to reckon with the sector. However, it also highlights the two Indias visible and India busy exploring the frontiers of space, and an India which still believes in superstition and dogma. This is not conformed to just the illiterate, uneducated, but also to highly placed individuals as well who take full instructions from Himalaya-based yogis. Eddie reason. It is observed that a repeated practice of ministers in the present government is to refer to every problem that occurs as being the result of actions by the previous government. 7 years have passed since a new government was formed with promises of great performance. The past government and Jawaharlal Nehru cannot be blamed for everything. The next question would be, what have been authorities and the government been doing in all these years?
interesting. Well, thank you, class. I hope you got to know the highlights of the news and were also updated with the same. If you have really paid attention. If not, if you're busy eating, then please go through the Hindu paper. Again, take the words that you come across, the new words, check for the synonyms, and also make yourself, keen to learning new words so that it will help you out and also implement in your day-to-day living. Are you understanding? All right, thank you.